Okay, thanks, Zhan, for the fantastic introduction. Hi, everyone. I am thankful that I am able to share with you today. So the team, upon hearing, the purpose of this webinar, I shared with the team that, I'll probably, talk about just breathe. Okay, whatever feelings that you might have, whatever emotions that you might be going through, events, activities you might be going through now, we still need to just breathe. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go through some slides that I've prepared for all of you. Now, it's going to be interactive, so I hope that you will participate by typing your responses in the chat box if you feel comfortable about it. Now, first thing first, okay, what's so important, as we pursue, to seek our new career, as we transit, career progression. First thing first, we need to recognize, or you need to recognize what you are feeling now. So if you're comfortable, right, if you could type in the chat box, what do you think you are going through now? What do you think, what are the sort of feelings you have at this juncture? Okay, so being able to recognize your feeling is the first step to address what you can do. Okay, because without being self-awareness, okay, you will not be able to, effectively, develop coping mechanism that you can cope and manage these emotions. So thanks for, some of your responses. Okay, erratic emotion, you go through ups and downs. Okay, the various erratic emotions that you go through, in your daily functioning. And of course, you feel, in this COVID-19 pandemic, the uncertainty. And of course, that there's this element of discouragement and over a long time period, okay, you might feel, depressed. And of course, you find that you probably lost some quality time, not just with your loved ones, but also for yourself. Now, all these are valid emotions, and I thank those who responded because it takes courage to recognize and talk about your emotion. And talking about your emotion is the first step to recovery. All right. So to help you along, I'm going to share with you this slide so that you know that not all anxiety, not all stress are bad stressor. Okay, now in life, it's good to have some stress. Like for example, when we are young, when we have to study for exam, or even right now, when you have to look for another opportunity, or when you embark on a new career transition, definitely there will be elements of stress or elements of anxiety because the new environment. It's going to be a new environment. So it is okay to have a little bit of that stress, but too much stress onwards. And if you feel anxious, whatever negative feelings that you might have for a period of more than 6 months, okay, then that is a call for more actions to be done, from lay back, from fatigue. We all feel tired at times, okay, but when you reach the optimum, okay, you start to feel the anxiety, you start to have panic attacks, and towards the end, of course, you start to feel burnt out. So it's good to have stress, but too much of stress or anxiety per se, okay, it is no good for your mental well-being. So this is a topic that we want to share and encourage all of you today. And of course, how do I know, or how do you know that you are going through a period of anxiety and stress? Now, for some, it could be lack of concentration. Okay, you are not able to focus on your daily functioning. Not that you will not do it. You still, wake up, you still go for your lunch and dinner, but in between, you start to think about, in this career transition, how will I be able to cope as I look for career opportunities? How, there's no opportunities. I've sent so many resumes, So the lack of concentration, you start to lose concentration in your other daily functioning. And of course, there will be other physiological reactions to it. Like for example, you start to have insomnia, you cannot sleep well, you start to have headache because you overthink, you think too much of it. So all these are just some examples of how your body will react when you have constant anxiety over time. Okay, over time mean to say, more than 4 or 5 months of anxiety will lead to serious, mental wellness. So how do we then deal with it? Okay, so you yourself, as I shared, you have to look at, okay, now that I have this emotion, so do I behave in this manner? Do I constantly, behave in the manners as shown in this current slide? Okay, you can do your own self-check. Okay, yeah, no, I observe that I have some obsessive behavior. No, I tend to check my email again, to look for any responses from the employer, the hiring managers. I can be checking, this minute, and then the next minute I check my inbox again. So you start to have this kind of like obsessive behaviors that you don't usually have it before you have that negative feelings or that negative emotions. And of course, in this case, I see most of you, your discouragement, your anxiety, and of course, the stress. Okay, now, how do we then deal with it? Now, all these are, if you do a Google search, definitely you'll find, suggestions that would help you. But I try to tie it with the fact that all of us are going through career transition. All of us are looking for career opportunities in the IT sector. So I've tried to see, if I am a colleague or if I'm a professional IT personnel in the IT sector. So how do I encourage you? What are some of the things that I can encourage IT professionals like all of you, to take good care of yourself? So one is really to talk about routine, right? So what you can do is really to map out. Now, if you are currently still looking for a job opportunity, of course, what is that routine? So a routine includes your daily functioning. A routine includes things that you enjoy doing. I mean, on one hand, we might be going through, like looking for a job, getting used to new career. But on the other hand, we need to be able to identify what are some of the activities I used to like. Activities could be, you enjoy singing, you enjoy physical activities, you enjoy, having a cup of coffee with your friends. So create that routine in your life so that when you are occupied with a routine, you will not have obsessive negative thinking, which is automatic to you. Every time when you encounter a trigger, now this trigger could be, oh, I've not found a job yet. And then automatically, that might be a trigger in your mind, with a negative thought, or maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe the hiring manager thinks that I'm lousy. So do not allow this to pass by without you recognizing that you are actually having such negative thoughts. Like what I said, right? The more you are self-aware of what you are going through, what you are thinking, okay, the better you are, to be able to develop coping strategies to deal with all these thoughts and automatic feelings. And of course, I will give you a tip or two in a short while. How do you then do a self-talk to rationalize your feeling? Now, of course, the purpose objective is really to give you very quick tips in this short session. How do you deal with it? But of course, the best is really to look for someone. Like in the next talk option, don't be afraid to open up and to talk with someone. Okay, if you need, to have someone to provide you that active listening ear, to listen to you, and sometimes all you need is really, for someone to be there to listen to your anxiety. And of course, another short tip is really about, the team is deep breathing, some deep breathing exercise to help you deal with your anxiety when you feel that your anxiety is developing or building up. Okay, so be mindful about that emotions and then deal with it concurrently, subsequently, right? Now, first of all, I'll just do a quick Menti. Okay, you can scan, you use your mobile phone to scan this code. Okay, go to menti.com And the code for this is 74681248. Now you see, a series of activities that you think you can deal with it. Now in this session, at this point in time, I'll not show the result yet. I will still give you some time to show it during the panel discussion, or throughout. I will, if I have the chance, I will show you, or if not, I will cut the picture and show you in the chat box, like how most of us in this panel webinar, how most of you would deal with your own stressor in life. Okay, so there are some tips whereby you can also explore, do those activities to help you cope with your stress. Okay, so again, menti.com, and the code would be 74681248. Okay, you can take a screenshot of this as well. Now, the first tip that I want to teach you is really a very simple deep breathing exercise. Now, the first step is really to put your hands. If you want to follow through, without turning on your video, if you want to go through, as I narrate, you can also practice at this time, right? Just go through one round of practice, and then you can do so. The next time when you feel anxious again, you can do it. So the first thing that you do, you can either close your eyes or just feel comfortable. You can be seated, you can be standing, or you can be lying down. Just make yourself feel comfortable. Now you put your hands at your diaphragm, right, your tummy area. Just feel, the purpose of that is just for you to be present and to feel your diaphragm, inflating and deflating as you breathe in and out. So the motion creates that sensation for you to feel that you are now currently present. So when you're present in the present moment, right, you don't go back to the past, worry about some past lost opportunities, or you don't think about the future, like what will happen in the near future. So the key about this is really to be in the present. Okay, and you just visualize in your mind, once you are ready, you breathe in through your nose, okay, in 2 seconds. So as you count in your head, 1,000 to 1,000, okay, you just breathe in through your nose, hold for 3 seconds, and then you breathe out through your mouth in 6 seconds. So as you do this motion, right, you visualize in your head the air going through your nostril. Okay, in 2 seconds, you breathe in, you hold for 3 seconds, enjoy, your lungs being filled up with the air, with the oxygen that you need. And then as you breathe out, you can visualize that air, which is invisible, right, coming out from your mouth. And as it comes out from your mouth, you are releasing that stress, you are releasing that anxiety. So you do this for about 5-6 times, just to calm yourself down. And when you are in a calm state, your mind, everything, you'll be in a better perspective to look at things in a positive manner. Okay, so try this deep breathing activities. You can take a screenshot as well, okay, if you need. Now, the next one is really to teach you how do you do your self-talk, right? How do you rationalize? Now, every time when you have this negative thought that comes to, really, you're damn lousy, you're not suitable for the job, you cannot cope with the new job, you don't have the relevant skill. Now, all these are legit negative thoughts that will automatically come to you when you have this trigger. So, like what I mentioned, the first thing is really, listen to what you are actually saying to yourself, these thoughts or the belief or the value system that you might have. Like, for example, core belief might, you might be taught from young, to be successful in life, you need to have a good job. So it could be something that the parents might have told me from young, and I developed that value system. So listen to what you are saying to yourself. Say, for example, maybe I'm lousy because no one wants to have an interview with me. And then the thing is really to ask is this thought is positive or negative? So you try to disassociate from this thinking and say that, oh, I am thinking that I am not good enough. So you are not part of the issue. You are embracing. I'm not saying that you escape. You avoid this. But I'm saying that you recognize the emotion and ask yourself, is this positive or negative now? Now, what happens if it happens? What happens if it does not? So you observe what is going through. You listen to what you're going through, and you try to write down some notes, which I'm going to share with you. How do you take short thought log to identify your thinking? So step one, listen to what you are saying to yourself. Step two, after you have identified, right, you challenge your thought. Okay, you challenge this emotion. So is there any evidence? Okay, who tells you that you are not good enough for the job? Okay, who says so? Okay, so what will you tell to someone who is going through the same experience as you? How will you encourage the person? Okay, and ask yourself, okay, if someone thinks that I'm not good, so what can I do to change the feeling that I feel about right now? Can I go for upskilling? Can I go for reskilling in ICT? In any case, in IT sector, technologies are evolving so fast. What I learned today might not be applicable tomorrow. So do I then take this opportunity to upgrade or reskill? So challenge your self-thought. Am I really not good enough? Okay. Now next, once you change, right? Okay, change your self-thought. Yeah, I don't think it's not that I'm not good enough. Maybe this current skill is not relevant for this company. So what can I do? Okay, perhaps while searching for new job opportunities during this career transition, I can look for relevant digital online courses related to the technology skill that I need to apply. Perhaps while waiting for a job opportunity, I can go for upskill or reskill. Okay, so this will allow you, to get you to change from your negative thought, I'm not good enough for the job, to, okay, maybe my skill is not relevant. So what can I do to upskill or reskill so that I make myself relevant for the next job opportunities? So when you have this strategy, when you have this routine, okay, you don't focus on your anxiety, but you then develop coping mechanism to overcome that negative thinking. So an example of a thought law, this is a quick example. You do not need to follow exactly, but I'm just showing you a demonstration. So the situation, I've submitted many job applications, but still no responses from the hiring companies. So thinking, I must have been rejected because maybe I'm not good enough. So ask yourself, what's the emotions I'm going through? I'm feeling worried that can I find a new job? I'm feeling anxious. I sent 100 resume, but nothing come back. So you indicate from 0 to 100. Of course, the higher the percentage, the more you feel about that emotions. And then you check your own behaviors. So because of that, what have I been behaving? So like what I said, I constantly check my email inbox for responses from the hiring companies. And of course, maybe sometimes, I ask my ex-colleague, hey, do you think I'm no good or not? Do you think seriously, I am really not that good, man, that no one wants me to be in the IT sector anymore? So you list them down, and then you ask yourself, okay, so what are some of the alternative responses I can have? Instead of feeling rejected, instead of feeling worried or anxious, maybe it takes time for the hiring companies to review so many job applications, and meanwhile, I can just upskill and reskill so that I value add. Okay, so I build my credentials, so I build up my skill to showcase myself, the skills that I have. So this is just a simple log activity, and when you read through, it kind of like helps you to reframe your thinking. Okay, so with that, I just want to leave this by sharing with you. Don't forget that you you are not alone in this journey. Okay, you are really not alone. Okay, in this uncertain COVID-19 pandemic, a lot more people are going through, but the key is really, looking at yourself being the priority. So if all else, you forget about what I've shared, okay, I want to leave you with this BOD, B-O-D, be present, okay? Be present in the current moment, open up yourself, and do what matters to you most. Okay, so B-O-D, be present, open up, do what matters to you most. Okay, so if you have any questions, type in the Q&A, or during the panel discussion, you can also, ask questions. So with that, I will hand over to, Tze An.
Thank you so much, Willie. Really appreciate your very practical tips on how we can learn to better manage our emotions. Next up, we have Ms. Tan Po Chu. Po Chu is a volunteer career advisor with WSG. I mean, she very graciously has given of her time. But she's coming today also with her hat, wearing her hat of a General Treasurer at the Tech Talent Assembly, or TTAB for short. They are a sub group from NTUC that actually takes care of tech professionals as individuals, right? So SG Tech takes care of companies, they take care of individuals, and they have been a great partner to SG Tech as well. So Po Chu herself is a seasoned business builder. She brings with her decades of experience, literally, as an excellence leader and talent developer, working on business advisory and data analytics, right? And she's also currently an adjunct faculty member at SMU, the School of Information Systems, as well as a board advisor to a management consulting firm, and also, her role at Tech Talent Assembly, giving back to the community. So it's a great privilege to have her here to share about this volunteer career advisor initiative. Like what Willie said, you are not alone. There are these initiatives where they're trying to do a little bit. We cannot do everything, but where a little bit of difference can be made, we try to do what we can. Before I hand over the time to her, let's just play a short YouTube video to introduce this volunteer career advisor program.
Mr. Tan, so you are aware of the long working hours, right?
Believe me, I've worked all hours.
You have what? 15 more years to offer, at best?
I like to see it as bringing 25 years of experience to the table.
Do you really think you can keep up with the younger ones though?
Mr. Tan,
Are you aware of work-life balance? Are you sure you can handle the stress? Are you prepared to work overtime?
Brian, your skills are transferable. Plus, you have the advantage of having done all this before.
A very successful exec once gave me some excellent advice that I should turn age into an advantage. I know some tricks that the younger ones will thank me for.
Then Papa, you have our permission.
Thank you for the support. And thank you for your advice.
You're welcome, Brian. Now, all the best for your interview, okay?
All right, just checking my volume. Is okay? All good?
Sorry, all good. Yes, Po Chu.
All right, yes. Thank you. Thank you all of you to dial in during lunchtime. I appreciate your time. And I'm not sure what you think of the short video earlier, but for me, I find that it triggered a lot of emotions in terms of how it was being portrayed. Someone who is of a certain age group, trying to look into a new career and things like that. All right, what I'll do for the next couple of minutes is to share with you about Volunteer Career Advisors Initiative. Sorry, 24. All right, thanks Tze Han for the introduction. I won't spend too long repeating again, but I guess what I want to share with all of you today is really how I believe it's important to stay connected and stay relevant. So even though I'm right now, kind of a step off a full-time corporate role, but in order to continue to be relevant and connected, I have been quite deliberate in the various activities and the roles that I play. So for example, being adjunct faculty with SMU School of Computing and Information System is to help me stay with the young people, right? People who is going to graduate in a couple of years' time. And I think it's important to be able to impart any experience and knowledge to them, and because they're going to be the leaders and builders of our future. And I think very intentionally, I also volunteered to be a board advisor to a local consulting company, because this is where I can continuously work with organizations who are in need of help, how they're going to transform digitally, or how are they going to improve their operations to build a better business, drive better performance. And I think as part of General Treasurer and Exco member of a Technical Assembly, which I have been a volunteer for the last coming to 3 years now, I feel that it's rewarding in the sense that I continue to be meeting people and companies that have intention to want to build a career in ICT, or sometimes even individuals who come from other sectors and has a lot of keen interest how they can come into ICT sectors. And lastly, being a volunteer career advisor with WSG has also provided me a lot of opportunity to talk to different individuals from all walks of life. So since March this year till now, I have been interacting, engaging with different individuals. And I think there's quite a lot of different stories that I hear from them. And hopefully I have done, some good sharing in terms of how they can navigate themselves within the ICT sector. All right. I think as we all know that the evolution of the industry landscape, the workforce is quite different because thanks to technological disruption. Definitely, I think we are a lot more progressive, where we are today compared to a couple of years ago. But because of that, the technological expectation requirements, things like that have really changed. And what comes, in terms of changes and disruption, also, there are new sectors and job roles emerging, which is, in a way can be very exciting. In the past, we may not hear a lot of emphasis on a scientist role, an architect role, or, an engineering, type of role. But nowadays, these are job titles that, people are very excited about. And this is where you can build career as well. And because of a lot of the changes in technologies and expectation, definitely it comes with a lot of work expectation that is different today versus yesterday. And I think some of us also aspire to have a much longer working shelf life. And with that, you see that there is definitely a much higher likelihood for people to be, frequently transitioning in their career. Very seldom do people stick in one job role, for a long time, or work with the same company, for 20, 30 years. And not because they choose to sometimes, but because they have to in order to stay relevant and to move forward in terms of where the emerging sectors are. So who are we in terms of being volunteer career advisors? This is a quite a diverse group. There are different sector representation. Myself, I represent ICT. I have some friends I know who represent the accountancy side, the retail sectors, electronic sectors, so on and so forth. So there are primarily two groups of us. One group is where we are industry professionals, where we come with experience, expertise, and networks in a specific industry, like myself. And there are also the rest of the professional conversion program alumni, because they themselves have undertaken the journey to transition their careers and successfully, and now they're able to share their experience with the rest of you. And so what would be the objectives and what do we do, right? I think all of us come with perhaps different motivation to be volunteers. However, I think we are quite clear in terms of common objective is we are definitely committed to help fellow Singaporeans to seek clarity, gain your confidence in terms of how you navigate in your career progression. And we are definitely very excited to share all kinds of opportunities available and possible in the industry. And I think as much as possible, we would love to be able to impart any valuable industry knowledge and insights to all of you. Well, there are 3 C's word here, right? I think we all love all the acronyms. I think in terms of where we see that we can add value, to being a volunteer career advisors is really that we are able to provide clarity in terms of sharing trends or opportunities to all of you out there, and hopefully this greater clarity help you embark on your career opportunities better and faster. I think it's also important to be able to help you build confidence and give you a lot of guidance and assurance such that you're able to navigate your career transitions. And I think last but not least is connection. I think connection is important because sometimes you may be overwhelmed with a lot of information when you go into the website, and where we are able to tell you or share with you what are the government programs or resources or services that's available that is relevant to your situation. I think that definitely help you make your progress a lot hopefully smoother. And the last C that is not on the slide, but I thought on your part as advisee, what we would like to ask of you is your commitment to want to do something about where you are today, and commitment to want to move forward. All right, and if you're wondering, so are you someone who wants to speak to a volunteer career advisors? Well, these are some indication whether you're employed or unemployed. Perhaps you are interested, you are excited about looking into a completely different industry. You may be a finance accounting person, and you are thinking in your mind, should I do something else different? Because I've been doing it for too many years. My company may not be doing very well, and maybe this is an opportunity to look into something different. Or it could be a new subsector. For example, you've always been in retail, doing very well, and because of the pandemic, you'll find that this sector is a little bit more challenged, and you hear people talk about e-commerce. So, from offline to online, is it something that you want to explore? So that is also a possibility. What about a new job roles? For example, you may be in a back office role for a long time, and you find that you want to do more customer fronting, customer facing, or you are interested to know what people are doing in terms of in the digital marketing area. So this is a new job role that you are keen to explore, even if it's within the same organization and same sector. And finally, for some of you who are doing very well in your career, you may be curious to say, what can I do better? What can I do differently and to enhance my career progression from where I am today? All right. And how do we go about, meeting up? And because of the COVID situation, I would say that so far, in fact, all of my sessions are digital, right? Either via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams. I think, even like today, the webinars, I think we are all now very comfortable in digital, meetings. It's no less intimate in terms of the discussion. When times are better, perhaps we are happy to also do in-person one-to-one or small group meetups. And I think WSG is always happy to offer their premise at the Lifelong Learning Institute at Paya Lebar as well. All right, so what I want to encourage all of you is if you can scan this QR code and it'll bring you to the website to find out more about this initiative. Be curious, maybe you want to connect to certain volunteer career advisors, or perhaps just to equip yourself with more information and knowledge about anything that could be useful, relevant for the industry you're interested in, or maybe even any webinars or networking activities and events that you may be interested to participate. All right. Lastly, thank you very much for your time, and I just want to leave with you that please continue to stay relevant and stay connected. Over to you, Jahan.
Thank you, Po Chu. Sorry, I was just finding my mute button there. Thank you so much for sharing, and again, really appreciate Workforce Singapore, coming out with this initiative, and all the volunteers that have really given their time. Like what I said in the intro, many of them are actually career switcher alumni. They have been through, some of our professional conversion programs. A lot of them are also very experienced practitioners in the space that are really giving back now. So do make use of this opportunity to get wisdom and advice from them. Later, don't worry if you miss the QR code, we'll bring it up later, and you can get the slides also, right? If you respond to our feedback form later. Okay, so let me introduce the panel now. We have the two speakers that you've already heard from, but let me introduce a couple more, right? First is our moderator, Shane. Shane is the co-creator of the Growth Beans framework, and that's the name of a company as well. And they run what they call psychological safe spaces and support circles known as Growth Bean circles. So this is based on methodology that is effective in deepening self-awareness, spreading positivity, and building community, and also along the lines of supporting emotional and mental well-being. So we work with Shane very closely. She runs, using the same methodology, what we call career support groups. So this is a very interesting, program in the space because it happens over 7 weeks, very atypical, right? In our current landscape, and we're one of the few that actually run programs like this. Very small, but we feel very impactful. The second person is Jason. Now Jason is starting a new career with Growth Beans, in fact. So Shane is his boss, right? So he's starting a new career as a digital marketing executive, right? Supporting Shane in her programs. So prior to that, he had 6 years working experience, in risk management and compliance in the oil and gas industry. So he is a career switcher. But very interestingly, we don't just showcase, the full success stories after they've been through everything, right? Jason is going through it. So he is in the thick of going through that career transition process now. And we felt that it was important, to also hear perspectives like that. He can share about the challenges that he's going through as well. Before I bring them on, at the same time, can we have the quick poll for everyone? Eva, please. Pop out the quick poll. Yes, so we have a quick audience poll here. Just take a minute to fill in this. I think you can put in multiple selections. So just let us get a sense of a feel of where you are, your biggest fears. Okay, in the meantime, let me just hand it over to Shane, right, as the moderator, as you guys continue to fill in the quick poll. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zhihan. And hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here today to moderate the session. We have great panelists, and I think you've heard from both Willie and Po Chu already. I think lots of valuable information to share with us from what we know and what I know as well through the applied research that have been done. Well-being is something that's so key for us in our job search because it can influence how our interviewers and our own perspectives of that job search. So looking forward to hear more from the panelists. And while we wait for the audience poll to come in, the results from the audience poll to come in, I think one of the first questions that we want to ask as well is this similar question to our panelists, which is, I'm sure all of us here sitting here have gone through our own career switch before, and through our work experience. What would we say could be a biggest fear or a big risk that we have taken in our career path? And what was the experience like? What were the thoughts that we're going through and what did we learn from that? So maybe if I can invite, maybe Willie, you can share first.
Okay, so earlier on during Zhihan's introduction, right, about a year plus ago, I started to move, to do a career transition from a corporate role into more of, doing something that I truly like. Of course, the first thing that really got into my mind back then was the fear of the unknown. So if you were to ask me to answer that question, right, it's really about the fear of the unknown. So I have a lot of friends who say that, oh, are you sure this is something that you want to do? Or, are you sure that this is something that, you are going to transit into? So the first thing is really, like what I have shared, to be present, to be in a, it's like if you continue to look into the past or, you continue to have that fear of the near future, right? There will be nothing that you can do to step forward. So be present and open up, acknowledge the fears. I mean, at the end of the day, we are still human beings, right? So definitely we still have that fears. So one of the things that I've done is really to speak with people who have gone through similar experiences, get their opinion, understand them. Is there anything that I need to upskill or reskill before I take the plunge to do a career switch? So these are some of the things that I've done, in the past year as I do this career switch into the current role that I'm doing now.
Thanks, really. Taking the plunge is never easy. How about you, Po Chu? How about your own experience?
Okay, I think for my case, it's kind of interesting. 2 years ago, before the COVID situation hit all of us, I took a deliberate step to do a lot of reflection and rethinking about my career, what I want to do in my life. And of course, those who know me know that I spent many years doing very similar thing in ICT sector, and I have committed a lot of time in my previous company, in data analytics, and I truly love what I do. So the day came when I declared that I want to semi-retire. Everybody look at me as like, why did you ever want to do that? So I would say that although I say it's semi-retirement, but I'm still, kind of really busy still doing different kind of things. So to me, that big plunge and the motivation is really, I feel that because if I don't step out of a full-time corporate role, then I never find enough time to explore my personal interests and areas of passion that I want to pursue. Definitely, there's a lot of uncertainty. Definitely, there's a lot of anxiousness in terms of, wow, will I get bored? Would I be, thinking, what do I do in my time? It is now 1.5 years after. And I would say that definitely I feel that how life is very interesting, and I feel very blessed that opportunities just present themselves to me. And maybe because I'm smelling the roses and I have time to do so. In the past, anybody who come to me with interesting adventure or opportunity, I'll say, no, I think I will never find time to do that. Whereas now I say, okay, tell me more. And more because I feel that because of I have availed myself of time for myself, I have a lot more clarity to engage different aspects of the workforce, the individuals and the companies, and I feel that that has been very fulfilling for me.
Thanks so much, Po Chu. I think what you've shared is so important. I remember having a conversation with somebody who was posted overseas for quite a number of years to work, and he shared with me that being able to partake in hobbies to identify our passion is so important, because that would support us with our identity, not just our work, right? Our work shouldn't be our identity, and that can help us with transitions. So thank you for pointing that out. How about you, Jason? What was your experience? And I think it becomes even more real as well because you have recently been through that.
Yep. I guess the biggest risk that I've taken is to make this mid-career switch right now. My previous background was in risk management and compliance. And as much as I know I'm qualified to enter into these roles, to enter risk management and compliance, it's a stressful industry and it demands precision. I felt that it was not a good fit for me because this is just like another job and nothing more. I have explored other job options and professional conversion programs, but it's a trial and error phase for me. So I'll share more in details if time permits, but moving forward, I'm currently in digital sales and marketing. During the gap years when I was not working, I learned that you need to be brutally honest with yourself and ask what you really would like to do and seek support from friends, family, or even career support groups to help you gain insight. And most importantly is to take action. Take ownership of your life and be willing to start again. Ask questions and be hungry to find meaning and be satisfied. There's always a way out in every problem. Sure, you just need time to reflect on it.
I hear the common pointers of like reflection that's coming out, really needing to ask and be brutal about that, right? So that we can also question our self-talk, but really know where we want to go, find that meaning and purpose. That's great sharing here. I'm just curious to see what the results are as well from the ground. So biggest fears from doing a career switch: lack the right skills. That's the top one. Lack of confidence, not sure which career pathway to take. That's like the top 3. And thank you to the audience for sharing that. And we of course do see some of the questions coming in. Do keep the questions coming in, and we'll come back to, of course, the panel here to see if we can address any of this. And any of these questions in our panel. So, but before that, I think tying it to, let's say, the ICT sector, right? Po Chu, if I can actually ask you, based on your experience on the ground with supporting job seekers who are looking to transit into the ICT sector, what are some of the concerns you have heard, and what are their mental and emotional states?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question. I would say that ICT unfortunately evolves really quickly. years back when I'm an accountant by training, just for information. But of course, for whatever reason, I have moved into ICT. And when I first entered the ICT sector, I said, oh, wow, compared to the consulting work that I used to do, surely, it is should be easier because technology, I just have to be on top of it. And then I realized that, wow, to keep up with changes in technology is really fast-paced, not so easy. So of course, the concern a lot of the individuals that I spoke to shared with me is, so how easy or how quickly is it for them to be able to upskill, reskill, and to be able to compete with people who are a lot more experienced, who are a lot younger, or even global competition? So these are questions asked all the time, and it is reality, right? Because the competition is global. Because IT work, a lot of options for offshoring, which means it can be anybody, virtual, global, that could complete the work, right? Every year the schools will be churning out a lot of fresh grads, even master students or even PhD students who are so well, equipped in terms of the latest technological stack because they just, completed their schools. And I think there are some individuals who has been in the right relevant ICT industry and they accumulated experience. So how do you compete with people like that? So these are the concerns. And yeah, so unfortunately, these are realities that we have to deal with.
Thank you. Just throwing an open question here as well to tie in with the top concern, right? Lack of skill sets. And throwing open to even Po Chu, Willie and Jason to jump in. There might, of course, be a lot of concerns about how do I keep up with these different skill sets, and it can take an emotional, mental toll, right? Like, what are all the different skill sets that I need to take, and which one is the right one? Which any one of you be able to share how they can move about doing that, and how at the same time you can support yourself in doing this?
Okay, maybe I can share this thought coming from my former role as a HR professional, right, in IT sector. Okay, back then I remember, when we asked colleagues what is their career progression like, within the organization, or if let's say they have a chance, to move in their career progression within ICT, what are the skills set that they need to have? So a lot of times, when we ask them, they say that, oh no, I know that I need to upskill, I know that I need to reskill, but exactly what am I going to upskill or reskill? Okay, so one of the tips that I always share is there are available resources that the Singapore government has done up nicely for all of us. Now, in the ICT sector, right, there is always the skills framework for ICT. Okay, you go to SkillsFuture Singapore, you go and Google skills framework ICT, you have a whole list of skills that's required for each role, for each job grade or each job level. So a lot of times we use that as competency of employee for that particular role, for that particular grade. So if let's say you're interested in data analytics, so if you were to go into the SkillsFuture Singapore and look at their skills framework for ICT, they have recommended skills that you need to have depending on which level are you at now. Are you just starting a career in ICT, or in this case mid-career switch, or in this case you are taking on a new career role? So you can look at that particular level and you look at the type of skills that you need to have, whether be it technical skill, soft skill, or hard skill that you really need. So you can meet reference to that, and that will give you a good sense of doing self-evaluation. What are the skills you have now? And if you're to assume that role or the role that you're applying for, you can always check, do I have the relevant skill? So that's a good platform for you to check, okay, match what you have now against the role that you're applying for, meet reference to the skills framework for ICT, and ask yourself, do I have those skills yet? If yes, go and apply. If not, can I do something about it? And then you can be very specific that these are the skills that I want to upskill and reskill. So just one quick tip based on what I've seen previously. Yeah, even currently, I've heard a lot, like how do I know which skill to upgrade or reskill? So make use of resources from Workforce Singapore, from SkillsFuture Singapore. Okay, they have fantastic resources for the ICT sector.
Thanks really for highlighting the skill maps. I mean, personally, I have gone to the website a couple of times as well, just to refresh myself in terms of what are the job roles, what are the skills required, or I think importantly is also what training is required. Perhaps what I wanted to share is also for the individuals to take a step back, because you'll be very overwhelmed by, wow, there are 7 sub-sectors even within ICT, from data, from cybersecurity to data analytics to infrastructure and things like that. So where is my start point? One of the tools that I thought was quite useful, you can log into my SkillsFuture portal. There's an assessment tool called the RISEC assessment, RIASEC. Personally, I've taken the RISEC assessment 2 times, 6 months apart each. And I find that it's quite interesting that there are similarities and yet there are differences. And how does it work? I think importantly is to identify your career interests. Because I always share with my advisees is that start with your area of interest and also your area of strength and expertise. Because if you want to switch to something different, then you don't want to compete ground zero. You want to compete based on your strength, based on your passion and interest, and you want to compete based on where you believe that you could put on the table to add value to the organization that you are joining in the job role that you are undertaking. And with that, it hopefully help you navigate better to look at the a skills map, because I have some of the advisees who look at that, done the assessment, and then they look at the skills map and they say, it's so clear, I know why cybersecurity is really not a thing for me. It's just not my cup of tea. And then there are people who say, I think there are some areas of other IT that is just so not logical and natural. So I think hopefully that helps you in your navigation.
Thanks, William. Jason.
And just to reinforce the point, I already have put the link in the chat so that you guys can refer to it. I think what is most important is you take this as like a 10-year series. It provides a good outline for you, and you can actually craft your resume based on the information that's available within there. So that is a shortcut, because this is what the expectations are, and it's easier if you have a physical reference of all this knowledge. And also RISEC, it also helps you to guide, and it's a free resource, so please make full use of it.
Thank you. And Jason, you're clearly speaking from experience too. Like, I'm guessing you also utilize some of this in your recent job search. I'm going to turn the question over to you here and ask you, like, in your journey of looking for that next job, your career switch, right? What were the emotional and mental states that you experienced, and how did you deal with it?
When I was retrenched a few years ago, my mental and emotional state suffered, as I was the primary carer for my dad, and he needs to be carried from the wheelchair to bed. I fell into depression simply because it broke my heart to see a family with I felt a tremendous sense of guilt, shame, and anxiety. And I am stuck on what careers I would want to go. And when you see your savings hit critically low, that's the end already. So concerning my job search, I was asking if I should continue in risk, compliance, and law. The pay is good, but the stress level is high. Or should I go into a new industry? If so, which one? I had the desire to help people, and I find corporations that have a mission seems attractive to me. I started the career search when I sought help from E2I to help me brush up my CV. And it seemed at the point in time my experience was only limited to the work experience I have. I wanted to find meaning and not just a 9-to-5 job. I needed purpose. By chance, I found Growth Beans and participated in their Find Your Ikigai program and the career support group. For those, Ikigai is basically a Japanese word, means the reason for being. And we explored my strengths and skills, and most importantly, identifying a mission that was important. It ignited a desire in me to be an advocate for the underdog and revealed my passion for writing. I started volunteering in Growth Beans as a writer, and I found that I was good at it and my confidence grew. I knew that at that point I had to get into a job with that had writing. So doing things that I love and what I'm good at, manage my depression actually. I joined the career support group and I was ready to find a job. I found friends who were in a similar situation, and talking about our problems and being vulnerable allowed me to find what I'm really good at. In the career support group, I got to know SG Tech on the various job opportunities that are available. And I applied for a job with Growth Beans as a digital marketing executive. And now here I am with the PCP in digital sales and marketing.
Thanks, Jason, for sharing that. I guess a key pointer here that we heard is really about doing pet projects to identify like that passion and purpose to support us with moving forward. And it can be very scary to have found a job as well. Switching careers, entering new job after being in transition for a while. I think that can tie in with the whole lack of confidence. I think what you shared briefly as well, the lack of confidence, not knowing about the self. Was there anything that you did on your own end as well to support you with, apart from like, attending some of these different workshops, was there something else that you did on your own to support you in terms of strategies?
Yeah, so the first thing is obviously to manage my depression. I went to see a doctor and also to basically seek counseling to really sort out my depression because it was really holding me back. Depression just sucks the life out of you and you are so tired every day to even do basic things like getting out of bed. And there were moments where I was stuck in bed for 3 months. I had no desire to eat and no desire to do anything. So once you get the depression and the medication, thankfully it was all titrated properly. I was able to also explore on my personal interest and passion. And I started with writing. So writing, it was through the encouragement of friends that I started to write a blog post and doing a podcast that I wanted to be in marketing, and that helped me discover it. So in a nutshell, doing things that you really love will really help you manage your depression.
Thanks so much, Jason. And I'm going to turn the time then to Willie. I think talking about like this whole mental health aspect, the first question I would like to pass to you is being able to enter a new job after being in transition can pose a lot of a new level of anxiety and a different kind of like confidence related issues. I would say, how can employees share their concerns and seek support from their employers to get the support they need?
Okay, so on this, right, for any new colleagues embarking on their ICT journey, definitely within the organization, or at least, like for example, back then in Crimson Logic, there will always be a buddy system that we implement, or most organizations will implement, or at least there'll be a mentor. So in the event that you're not sure about the new job that you're doing, do not be shy, I feel. Okay, this is what I want to encourage all of you. Do not be shy to acknowledge that this is something new. I do not have the relevant skill. I am not competent in this area yet, but do not be shy to ask colleagues around you, okay, your buddy or even your supervisor. How can you do this better? How can you do this work better? So that's the first thing that you may want to do if you are new in the ICT journey. And I know within the organization, if all else fail, like you feel like you are not able to communicate well with your team members, you're not able to share or express your thoughts with your supervisor, and you need a third party to listen to you. I know within the organization, they always have employee wellness program or employees assistance program, whereby they will outsource this counseling part, right, to a third party service provider, providing you with some counseling services. So there will always be this hotline that the organization can provide, and you should see in your staff manual that if you need someone to counsel you or to listen to you, right, or to talk through your issues, your difficulties, you can always call that hotline. So these are some activities that, or some examples that you can do. And of course, at the end of the day, you can always, go back to your HR personnel and have a one-on-one talk with the HR personnel on your concerns. And I'm sure they will be more than willing to listen to you and to help you identify, the resources that you might have to develop your own solutions. Yeah.
Thanks, Willie. And I'll open it to both Po Chu and Jason, if you have any inputs here.
Well, I guess the most important thing is that the employers need to have a heart-to-heart conversation and give employees a safe space to talk about their problems. The emphasis of safe space cannot be undermined, because that's where you really can tell what is really bothering you. And it's not good to keep things in your heart and let it fester. And employers also need to show empathy on the problems that the employee is facing and accept them for who they are. And there might be moments where there are downtimes, and it will be good to strike a work schedule on when you can recharge and when you can contribute to the company, or maybe take a mental health day off as well.
Thank you, Jason. I'm just going to look at the questions as well from the floor and see if there are any here that we can also help to address, right? So I see one here that's from Bernard. He says that the government has encouraged us to work till 65 years and above, but realizing that when you reach 55 years old, most companies, upon knowing it, will just place you on the sideline after the interview. So how can we encourage companies that this group of people still has valid experience to help them? So maybe we just answer this part of the question first. So maybe Po Chu from the VCA had, Billy from your experience as the HR in an IT company before, maybe you can start off by sharing your own inputs. So Po Chu, you want to go first?
Okay, hi. I would say that unfortunately, it is true that not many companies are aware, right, in terms of, once you hit 65 and above, because in order to incentivize, older, more mature workers, there's a lower CPF and things like that. So it translates to a lower cost. But I mean, because I come from ICT sector, you find that the average age in a lot of companies is like, from, in the past, maybe 35, and now it's moved down to 30 years old. So when you have someone who's 65 and above in an ICT sector, it is quite a rare gem, right? It's unusual. So that's something that is a mindset, is a perception. I think with a lot of hopefully education and encouragement, companies can really be very open to explore the possibility. Some of these mature workers, they may not be in the deep tech, but surely because of their accumulated experience, they can do a lot in terms of, working alongside younger colleagues, but contributing in terms of the industry knowledge or even expertise and experience in project management, in how do you ensure that you manage a vendor relationship and things like that. So there are different aspects that need not be programming and coding, which I think a more mature worker may not be interested or be very adept at it.
Thank you, Po Chu. How about really your own point of view?
Okay, for me, I would re-ask this age group, right? Like, what at the end of the day, what matters most to them? Is it the title, the destination they are looking for because of their years of experience? I will also ask them these questions like, are you willing to be reporting to someone younger than you? Or even questions like, are you willing to take on a contract job and not a permanent contract? So these are, and of course the contract basis would be reviewable, like every time towards the end of the contract, we'll review the performance and we'll determine whether to renew or not to renew. So these are some of the questions that this age group of 55 to 65, they need to ask themselves, what matters most to them? What are their expectations? Can they take on such a contractual role? If the IT company is willing to get you in because of your years of experience, and I want you to come in but on a contract basis, are you willing to take up such a role? If yes, go ahead. If not, ask yourself, why are you not willing to take up a contractual role? Or would there be any other reasons that you might have? So explore all these areas, and when you're able to understand, what matters most to you, then we go on and see what are the type of jobs suitable for you. Definitely, in IT, they need experienced people like, this age group to come in. But sometimes because of the headcount cost or whatever the reason, project basis, they might not have enough projects to bring you in, but just so that they have that one project and they need you to come in on a contractual basis or on a project basis. So you have to consider, are you willing to join them then? So some food for thoughts, or something for you to bring back to ponder upon.
Just to share a thought, because my personal experience was that I volunteered. I asked them that if you are willing to let me just try out and see how it goes, and maybe we can work into a working arrangement. So for those people who are really unsure on entering into a particular industry, be bold and ask them, say that, will you allow me to volunteer or intern for you for a bit? And can tell them that, let's strike a deal. If you really like what I'm doing, would you like to consider to hire me? So sometimes you have to take the first step to just ask them, and instead of waiting for them to get to you. And speaking from experience with the career support group that SG Tech has done for us, there are speed interviews whereby you come into a group and you are discussing with the CEO on how you would like to sell yourself and sell your what services that you can provide. So yeah, the bottom line is take the first step and just don't be afraid that these formalities or have this idea that everything must be perfect. It doesn't have to be anyway.
Thanks so much for all that sharing. Definitely that ties in also to the confidence that we can portray ourselves. I think when we can portray that confidence, regardless of whether it's a new industry or not, to others, first by taking care of any anxiety or well-being, people would be open to having us on board because they're looking to see if we have that ability to run as fast as the rest of the group. I'm going to jump to the next question here, which is from Brian. He has a question on the future of having trained DPOs in the ICT sector. Will Willie or Pochu be able to answer that question? Pochu?
Yeah, I'll take the question. Yeah, okay, in terms of data protection officer role, I would say that there is a need to look for someone who, very keen, has a keen eye on details, right? And someone who really look at compliance very seriously. And if the question is, is there a future to train, people in the ICT sector to be a DPO? Sure, of course. And in my previous organization, we have someone who's very technical that was appointed that first DPO. And later on, the baton was passed on to someone with a legal background. So, you need not be totally technical to be an effective DPO person, but I think the key thing is really someone who has a lot of interest to look at compliance. And of course, because of data protection policies, the Act PDPA itself, you need someone who look at it clause by clause and to ensure that the different aspect of the organization in their processes and policies is support and are in compliance. So definitely, it is a compulsory requirement. So, a lot of people, especially those with, background in data management, data quality knowledge and things like that, I think that is a good start point.
Thank you, William.
And I think in a lot of the IT companies, they are recruiting people with this kind of data protection framework competency to come in, because it's always good for the IT companies to be certified that they are compliant with the PDPA. Because when you sell, your application to whether be it local or overseas customers, they always want to ensure that their data is being protected. So such data protection certification definitely would be beneficiary to IT company, and therefore they will always need a DPO people with that experience, who understand the framework to join them so that they can do the necessary implementation and perhaps develop a relevant training roadmap for employees to understand how they can comply, in order to get that certification. So definitely DPO is an area that, you can consider in IT sector.
Thank you. And another question just came in. Maybe this is we can take this as the last question before we wrap up the panel, right? Someone's curious about the intersection of music and performing arts role in ICT in Singapore. What are some of the opportunities and challenges? Now, I'm not sure if any of us here have sufficient experience with music or performing arts roles in ICT, but perhaps we can just open it up for a discussion here to put out any thoughts that we might have.
Wow, okay. I shall briefly try to answer. Definitely not someone who is in music performing arts, just a consumer, but I can imagine that IT being so pervasive in every aspect of our life, and I'm sure even music and performing arts is also evolving with the adoption of a lot of technological, equipment, devices, connectivity, things that needs to be done virtually now instead of just live performances. So a lot of these things, I would say, that require individuals with a very strong, appreciation for IT and the knowledge of how technology can intersect to help, enable the, ability to deliver music and performing arts in a better way, in a faster way, and perhaps even more productive fashion. Because I think behind the scene, I'm sure the crew, is a big team. And how can, each of these performing company, be more effective and more productive in what they do. Yeah.
Thanks, Bo Chu. And I also know that with like Spotify, I think it's called like the greenhouse audio or something, right? It's allowing more people to create their own music online. So they're already using technology in the music industry. And then how that shows up in performing arts with the digital, like 3D rendering and all of those. Definitely, I think there is, performing arts or tech within the performing arts. I guess it's more of just about exploring the new direction because of the digital experience is what's important. So actually recently, I've been to the Arts and Science Museum. I think they talk about like the future of it. And I think that itself can show you how they're using the technology to create art. So I encourage you all to join them. Now, I think what we'll do is to wrap up the session for today, I'm going to invite the panelists to just share what would be an advice that you would like to leave with job seekers today, whether it's to support them for their career or for their mental and emotional well-being. Really, which you like, Bo Chu? Yeah.
Okay, quick one from me. I think stay curious, stay relevant, and stay connected in the ICT world. I think that's important.
Okay, so for me, for everyone, it's really to take care of your board. Remember BOD, and that is to be present, open up, and do what matters to you most.
My advice is don't give up. Find your passion. Seek support from others to bounce ideas with. You are not alone in this, and it is okay not to be okay. Fulfillment in career has plagued many people. Carl Jung says that you only can find your career when you are 40. And there are lots of people out there who are burnt out and they are stuck in this cycle of work. And we have the universal suffering of trying to find meaning in our work. So yeah, just take one day at a time.
Thank you. And I guess we were all young once. We all remember, we all need to remember that act of like learning, right? So age is not, shouldn't be a factor to stop us. Let us all continue to learn and grow together. Back to you, Zhi Han. Thank you to the panelists today for the insightful sharing.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, let me just quickly bring up my screen share. There we go. Okay, I really appreciate all the panelists sharing. As you can hear, a lot of it was very heartfelt, very open. And, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, your struggles and what you're going through, you know, is something that many people suffer through as well. And you can get through it, right? And that's really the message that we want to bring home today. There's so little that we can do with one webinar. It's only been an hour. We overshot a little bit already, right? But I really want to encourage you, you know, to see that this is the first step, right? To tap on the resources and to help as much as you can, and to make the most of what's already out there. You know, all our panelists here are really willing to step forward and put their, you know, and offer their support, right? I just want to give a quick shout out to Growth Beans, you know, on the slide here. They have a program also to help support career switchers, you know, to gain confidence and to help chart that career path. Right, so if you're interested to reach out to them, the contact details are here. Let me just bring us then to the next slide where you can all scan the QR codes. Don't worry about not being able to do it. You can do a screenshot now, but also we can send over the slides if you fill in our event survey, because if you have our contact details there that you fill in, right, then we can send you the full deck of slides so you can get in touch with any of them. So like I said, all of them are willing to offer their support. I mean, Po Chu for the volunteer career advisors, please reach out to them, you know, get an appointment. Right, Willie, I spoke to him offline also. He was willing to say, you know, so Willie, maybe I don't know whether I can quote you on this, but he was willing to say, you know, he can offer some time, you know, for people even on one-to-one, right? Right, Willie? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So Willie.
so for those of you who feels that, you know, you need some emotional support, right? Like some form of advice or listening ear. Feel free to send me an email and I'll be willing to, you know, talk to you in that one-on-one session, complimentary, because you attended SGTech webinar today.
Yeah.
For the top, I mean, for the first 5, yeah.
Okay, first 5, so fastest fingers first, right? Willie doesn't have unlimited time also, but really thankful that he, you know, he's willing to step out to even do this one-on-one, right? So do reach out to him. The last one is the same program that we talked about earlier, the Reconstruct to Level Up by Growth Beans, right? So this is a program that they are running. We are also running career support groups with them. We've just finished one tranche, so we don't have any upcoming. But if you email us, we'll keep you on our mailing list so that when the next run gets approved, we can reach out to you so that you can sign up for these career support groups. That's the career support group that Jason was also referring to, that he attended. Right, so okay, finally, last slide. Thank you so much. I'll just leave with this slide, but really thank you. I know we overshot a little bit, right? But I hope you found it useful. This is only a starting point. It was the first time for us as well. But I hope the steps that were taken, the sharing that was, you know, you heard today will be useful for you, and it's really very practical to help you better manage your mental well-being. Right, so we wish you all the best. Do take care. I also want to shout out Ang, who you know, had a very comprehensive sharing about his journey through, you know, his mid-career switch. I want to thank Ang for, you know, sharing that with the panelists as well. It was really insightful for us also, right? Thank you for taking the time to write a very long sharing. Right, so for all the rest of us, you know, please take care. We'll leave you with this slide. So fill in the event survey so we can get back to you. Thank you very much. Take care.